Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting episode of the 52-week movie challenge. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and here we go. Here's our book, the book that's basically helping us out here. We are on week 42. Oh, wow, 10 more weeks, and we're done. Whew. All right, so Reservoir Dogs I picked for the first film of a famous director. So Reservoir Dogs is probably one of my favorites films. It's up there. Probably on my top 20, I would say, maybe even top 10. I don't know. I haven't done a top 10 in a while. Probably do that by the end of the year. Probably a good idea to do that. Anyway, the film year released was 1992. The date challenge completed was 10/18/22. So wow, that's 30 years 30 years later. I didn't even know it was on its 30th anniversary. That's awesome. All right. So let's see. Aspect ratio was 2:35:1. Runtime is an hour and 39 minutes. Genre is crime thriller, rated R. Okay. Starring Tim Roth, Harvey Keitel, Steve Buscemi, Michael Madsen. There's Chris Penn. There's Lawrence Tierney. I forgot the Mr. Blue's name. If you guys know it, leave a comment at the bottom. There's a ton of other actors in this movie. Quentin Tarantino plays Mr. Brown. Just a lot of characters, a lot of actors, a lot of great. I mean, it's a fantastic cast. And Samuel Jackson auditioned for it. He didn't get it, but it's not like it hurt his career that he didn't get it. Directed by Quentin Tarantino, produced by Lawrence Bender, and written by Quentin Tarantino with, I think, like the radio stuff was said to be done by Roger Avery. Not sure how much he wrote on it. I know there was a big problem and he had to actually get that fixed or whatever, but that was never added to the credits. Music by Karen Rockman. There was no composing of a score, I don't think. I didn't see any composer. Awards received was Felix winner, original screenplay, and editing, and 10 other wins. I mean, there was a lot. There's 12 wins. Why did you pick this particular film? Because I love it. Have you seen this movie before? Yep. Would you recommend this film? Why or why not? Absolutely. That's what I wrote. This film is a first-time filmmaker's masterpiece, in my opinion. In my humble opinion. Which character were you able to identify with and connect with in what way? I hope none of them. They're all pretty terrible people. Best line or memorable quote is from Mr. Blonde is, "Are you going to bark all day, little doggy, or are you going to bite?" I like that line. There's a lot of lines. We'll get into that. Were you surprised by the ending? What would you have done differently? When I first saw it, I was a bit surprised. I mean, I had no idea what was going to happen. But no, after I've seen it, I wouldn't have changed a frame. What are you overall opinion on the director's first film? It's high on my list of all-time favorites. For Tarantino, just really well done. Can you see hints of later style in this one? Yep, you can definitely. There's oh yes, he definitely has chapters, and it isn't a linear structure. Plus, he references other movies he did. Is there anything you want to mention about this movie? Nope. You can see it on Stars. So that's what I actually watched on Stars. Did I show it to you? I think I showed it. I must have showed it a second ago. I have the Blu-ray for it. Oops. But Blu-ray, which actually has some really cool special features and stuff. Playing it fast and loose documentary, profiling the Reservoir Dogs. There's a Pulp Factoids viewer. I mean, there's some really cool stuff with it. But I ended up watching it on Stars because it's just easier to watch in the kitchen and while I'm getting lunch and stuff and just relaxing. I mean, a lot of people might think that scene right there would be a little hard to watch during lunch, but I'm probably seen worse while I was eating, so it was fine. This movie, okay, so I gotta just tell you, I'm a huge, huge fan of this movie. Like, absolutely, 100%. I love, love, love this film. This film is by far one of my favorites. Just something I just adore. Like, so when I was a kid, when I was younger, when I was in high school, because this movie came out in 92, so meaning that probably the VHS came out in 93-ish, 92, 93-ish. I was 10 and 11 when this came out. So, I was just like looking at it going like I wasn't allowed to see it. And then like later my siblings let me try to sneak Pulp Fiction, but I'm one of those kids that just feels badly for doing something I'm not supposed to be doing. That's I never smoked and never did a lot of things because I was afraid to get in trouble. And so I didn't want to watch the whole thing or whatever of stuff. And so when I finally did get to see this, I don't know, maybe I was 16, 17, something like that. So I finally got to see it and I was so freaking happy I watched it because it was really well done. The most gruesome part is the ear thing, but it's not even that gruesome. Like there's not like it's not like a horror film with like blood. I mean, I guess what's really creepier and scarier is it looked real, and pretty nasty. I think what also is a big thing is like this character, Mr. Blonde, is just a no nonsense, I'm not going to fuck around kind of guy. And, if you're not going to tell me the truth or tell me what's going on, I'm going to set you on motherfucking fire and stuff. So I don't know. I think the whole movie, and if you haven't seen the movie, by the way, it is amazing. I don't know why you haven't seen it, but it's amazing. It's probably, I would say it's definitely up there on my top favorites of Tarantino. But Tarantino's done so many great movies. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a movie. Death Proof, I'm not huge on, but I'm gonna rewatch it sometime because I think I just wasn't in the mood when I first watched it, and I don't know if that like affected my feeling toward it. Yeah, so whatever. Anywho, so yeah, this movie is just amazing. Very well done, very well put together. I laughed. I did not cry. Maybe from laughing a little bit. It's got a lot of humor to it, which is great. Some great lines, the beginning scene with talking about waitressing and everything, just stuff that guys would talk about that, would get them in trouble, saying out loud, but they're saying it all together, like the guy doesn't believe in tipping, or whatever. And what a stingy little bastard, like $1, you can't throw in $1 because you don't believe, like, and you got your meal taken care of. Like, that was the best part. I don't know. But all of that stuff and just Tarantino's dialogue where he's just talking, where people just chat with each other. I'm in awe of this movie. Like the fact that this is one of his first scripts that he ever wrote. He wrote True Romance at the same time that he wrote this and Natural Born Killers. So all three of those movies have connections. I believe True Romance has very connection because there's Alabama, and Pulp Fiction also has a connection. I'll tell you that in a second. So Alabama's connected. There's also the Diddly-Eyed Joe and Damned If I Know line. There's a couple lines that are similar and stuff. I'm surprised they never mentioned Big Kahuna Burger because that ties a lot of these things in together. True Romance and Reservoir Dogs also had people smoking Chesterfields. There's a lot of connections. And I think it's because he wasn't sure. Now, this is my opinion. This is my theory. Okay. It's my theory, that Tarantino wasn't sure if he was going to get any of these made. So he made a lot of them similar to each other in some ways or another, A, to put his stamp on it, but also because if worst came to worst, he wanted Diddly-Eyed Joe and Damned If I Know to be in one of his movies. He wanted Scagnetti, the character Scagnetti, to be in one of them. He wanted the character of Alabama to be at least mentioned so that later when he did True Romance, he could be like, okay, that was the story. Well, beauty is at the same time that Tony Scott bought True Romance, he wanted Reservoir Dogs and Natural Born Killers, I believe. And as well, like he wanted them all, I believe. And he said, no, I can't give you Reservoir Dogs. I can give you True Romance. You can have True Romance. But I can't give you Reservoir Dogs because that's the cheapest one I know, and I know I could make that on my own. So he sold, I have no idea what he sold it for, but he sold True Romance. Tony Scott made it. It's an amazing movie. It's probably my favorite of his written movies. Directing movies, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood or Pulp Fiction, there's kind of tied right now. This is up there. Like, I gave it a 4.5 stars. Like most of his stuff is 4.5 or 5 stars. Most of them, if not 4, in my opinion. So he made all these things. So he put all these things, Big Kahuna Burger, Chesterfields being in stuff, things like that, connections. Then there's Vic Vega, which is Mr. Blonde, that guy right there, Michael Madsen. Vincent Vega is in Pulp Fiction. So there's all these connections. And to me, it's like he created a Marvel universe without it being Marvel. He created his own Quentin Tarantino universe. And I would have loved to see all these characters completely cross paths. John Travolta, have a flashback where John Travolta's character. I know that I think they were planning that, or that was just an idea or something, like the Vega brothers. They're gonna do something like that. It just never happened. And plus, I think, it wouldn't work now. They're just too old for them. They'd have to find people look like John Travolta and Michael Madsen, for younger versions. But I'm sure that's easy to find. So it could still happen if that's what he wanted to do. Kill Bill, I think he wanted to do the next Kill Bill. I don't know what he's going to do for his next movie. It's going to be his last, apparently. I don't know. I hope not. I hope he says, I got like 5 more to go. Get 15. I don't know. But probably not. At least, if he does at least 1 more after that, I'll be happy. But 10 is fine, because the great thing about Tarantino is he doesn't just put out movies to put out movies. He doesn't just put crap out. He's very particular, and he takes his time and he makes sure it's ready and it's perfect and it's whatever, and this movie was damn near perfect, in my opinion. There might be, there's little, I don't even think there's really that many little things. I think maybe the biggest thing I had a problem with, and this is the point of the movie, is what I had a problem with. The point of the movie was that there was a heist movie with no heist. It would have been cool to see the heist, but we didn't need it. We didn't need the heist. And I'm sorry, I'm starting to sound like Tarantino, but it's kind of like when you get into that, when you're watching his stuff and you can listen to their dialogue and the things he says, you can tell it's Tarantino. He has a specific style that not any other person. If somebody tried to mimic his style, people go, "Oh man, they're just ripping off Tarantino." That is amazing. Not many independent filmmakers can start that way and continue with their craft. So I love this movie. And I put this up to, like, this is probably, this and El Mariachi and Clerks and all these different movies from the first time filmmakers. Slacker, they just show what somebody is able to do on a low budget, with nothing, basically nothing, and tell a really good story. This movie is a really good story. Five guys go to a heist. The heist goes wrong. We never see that, but we see the aftermath of what happens. So is uh all we hear is what happened, you know. But we weren't there. Just like Joe wasn't there. Nice guy Eddie wasn't there. They don't really know what happened. All they know is what they know. And that's most of what the audience knows. The audience knows some, but not all of it. And I think that's the best part about Reservoir Dogs. It's just one, you know. So like, such a great movie. If you haven't seen it, once again, it is fantastic. I don't think I spoiled too much. I mean, honestly, there's a scene. Everybody knows there's a scene with a guy who gets his ear ripped off. If you don't know that, you don't know anything about the movie, and that's fine. But you have to see it because it's one of the. It's a defining moment. This movie should be on Criterion. This movie should be on Kino Lorber. This movie should be on all of those, types of big high boutique Blu-ray stuff because it is amazing. I think it's on 4K or coming out on 4K. If it's coming out on 4K, go buy it when it does because it is, I guarantee you, it's shot on film. It's going to look beautiful. I guarantee you Tarantino wants to make sure it looks great because he's not a big digital fan. But I think he likes to make sure that his films look top notch. So I'm sure he would have taken care of that. So, anywho, there you go. There's my little review of this. I'm sorry, I get a little passionate about it because Tarantino is one of my idols. So, him, Kevin Smith, Sam Raimi. I have a lot of idols. Alfred Hitchcock. I have a lot of idols. But this guy is just one of my favorites. And I always, anytime I get a chance to watch one of his movies, I will do it in a second. And now that I've been doing a lot of reviews, I was like, you know what? I want to review Reservoir Dogs. We might do like another one of his movies on Film Freaks, but this is just perfect for me. So anywho, that's it. So let me know what you guys think of this review. But before then, let's talk about what's next. What's next week? Next week is set in a college. All right, so week 43 is set in a college. Whew. I got plenty to choose from. So I guess you'll find out when I come back next week. Until then, though, everybody, have a good one. Bye.